Okay, right.
Great.
We're on.
Hey, we're on. Oh well, welcome and thank you, Gillian, for joining me this evening. This is a new thing for me and potentially you as well, but we had a chat just not so long ago, and this is the result of the conversation. So it was really on the back of me explaining how this my group, I wanted really to expand it further. I think just with what's going on in the world and people having to adapt and evolve, and obviously the many challenges, uncertainties that people face, and I'm very much into sort of health and well-being and mindset, and I'm always interested to hear how other people actually adapt to uncertainties and situations that are kind of sometimes come sort of left field. So our conversation took us to this place, and I felt it was appropriate to maybe just do I don't think we've even got a name for it, but a kind of inspirational story type series of people who have had adverse sort of things happening in their life, and I think sharing and hearing how other people have dealt with that can be really helpful and liberating, and a whole lot of things as well. So thank you, Gillian, for joining me. I really appreciate this very much. So for those who are watching, Gillian is a clinical hypnotherapist and a transformational coach, like myself. You are based in Edinburgh, and I know that you work both online as I do, and you also have a practice in Edinburgh, and you see people sort of face to face. And from memory, I think you obviously it's holistic, so the whole combined mind body, but anxiety, weight management, confidence, addictions and phobias, I think was what you said. Yep. And the thing that impressed me, I have to say, was the fact that you actually have 80 5-star Google reviews out there from all your delighted clients. So I just thought that's amazing that to bring you on and have a chat. But not so much about that, because I think that will flow, but what I was really intrigued about, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about your background as to how you got to where you are, but a bit about your story, because I'll not sort of say too much. I think just really, if you want to kind of tell your story, then that would be great.
Yeah, sure. And since we spoke this week, Irene, I now have 82 5-star reviews on Google.
Excellent.
So I know I'm delighted, privileged and honoured that people are willing to put out there how they have felt transformed, have been transformed by the work that I do with them. Because not everybody wants to admit, especially on a worldwide stage, that they've been in therapy. So thank you, Irene, for giving me the opportunity to share, because I believe that my story is inspirational for a lot of women in their 50s who might have thought that they were trapped, as I did. And so I'm in a very, very unhappy situation here, and yet on the face of it, it does seem quite happy. There was nothing for anybody to think wasn't happy, and yet I knew it was toxic and it wasn't right, and it wasn't right for me. And I simply, because I can remember at various times over the couple of years before I eventually was able to change things, thinking, how can I change this? How can I break free? Because this isn't fulfilling me in the slightest. And yet, I've got 4 children, and I have on the face of it a happy enough relationship with a husband, etc. And I couldn't see a way out, but a way out was presented to me, not in a nice way at the time, but in a way that I couldn't change. So yeah, so where I started from was I was married for 20 years. I thought happily, well, happily enough, had ups and downs. And to my husband. And so we were together over 20 years. We were married 20 years. We had 4 children, and we were living in France. And my kids, the 4 of them, aged from the ranges of 9 to 16. My husband, we're both from Scotland, and when we'd met, he was a jobbing photographer in Scotland, and I was working for one of the life offices. And then once I had the first child, I didn't go back to work, and I started working for him, pushing and promoting his business. And well, we got the business together so much that we then moved to London. And ultimately, he did become an international advertising photographer. And in the interim, we had another 3 children. So we had 4 in total, and dogs and things. And we thought, right, living in London, the house that we were in was creaking at the seams. We needed somewhere bigger. And we decided to move to the southwest of France, near Biarritz, on the corner of France and Spain, to a sort of dilapidated farmhouse, and just see how it went.
Okay.
So we did do that. Well, in a crazy way, once we did that, his business seemed to take a nosedive. And I was working for him. I was doing a lot of business development. He had agents all around the globe as well. And nothing was really happening. And it made that there was a lot of cracks in the marriage that became apparent, because financially, we were living on our savings, basically. So I am a very, 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 very practical person, and I was doing everything. I was just juggling everything. I was helping with his business, etc. I couldn't take the pictures, the photographs, but I could do everything else, and I could bring up the kids, etc. And it was a fabulous life for those children, with sports and sea and the mountains. Lovely. Well, in 2009 at Christmas, I discovered that he was having an affair with my best friend. And oh gosh, that absolutely rocked me. I was devastated, completely devastated. Yeah. And I asked him to stop, and it was just a messy time. But he didn't stop. And eventually, I mean, I did go into therapy myself in France, and I had to ask him to move out. So come the beginning of March that year, I thought to myself, look, I really do love him. I'd always loved him. I had to love him because he's actually not a very nice person. And I'm not saying that as the wronged wife or the upset person. In hindsight, love has rose-tinted glasses. It carries a white stick, and I couldn't see what an awful lot of other people could see. Yeah. He wasn't right for me. So come the 1st of March, 2010, I said to him, look, why don't you give us 2 weeks together? Just 2 weeks. Don't see the ex-best friend. Obviously, she was ex by then. Don't see her. Give us 2 weeks together. We've got 20 years, we've got 4 children, 2 weeks of trying to mend this marriage. And I said, but if you walk out that door, then you've walked out forever. Now, I was a doormat, and I'd given away all my power to him, money, everything. And he just walked out the door. Wow. So, yeah, but it was like a light switch went off, and I thought, oh, okay, right, I've got that. I know exactly where I'm going on in my life now. Yes. And I did. And so I carried on, and I just knew that was it. I couldn't possibly countenance the thought of 3 people in a marriage, and I had to then go on. Now, that was me in France, the 1st of March, knowing that I was going to return back to Scotland, but I had an impediment in that my husband, although he didn't want me as the only person in his marriage, he didn't want me to leave either. So he wouldn't sign the papers that would allow me to take the children back to Scotland.
Okay.
And I had to therefore wait until the end of the summer school term to take the children back to Scotland. So I had like months to wait in this remote farmhouse in France. And to be honest, I was having a lot to drink. I was. I mean, I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed at how I was, but I was absolutely devastated. And it was just one cruel blow after another. And I had no money. I'd given all the money to him, and if he wanted to give me money, I got money, and it was only for the household bills, etc. So then I thought, well, what's going on here? What is happening in my life that this horrible, horrible, horrible thing has happened to me, and I'm so unhappy and I'm trapped. So I had two friends, I've got two good friends, one from school who is an astrologer, and another one who did the tarot. And they both independently said to me, you know what, Gillian, this is meant to be in your life. The universe has been giving you signs for long enough and you've ignored it. Finally, they've given you a sign that is catapulting you out of a toxic relationship because you're not meant to be there. You're not living your purpose. Get in touch with your higher power. And I'm like, what? Higher power? What's that? I didn't know what they were talking about. So then one of them said, well, why don't you get a book? Dun, da, da, da. Well, here it is, The Higher Power. Now, this isn't just any old book. This isn't even written by the Sanaya Roman, who has her name as the author. It's a channeled book from a master called Oren, who is one of like the ascended masters, etc. That might seem a bit sort of wooky if you're not into that sort of thing. But the information in that book transformed my life. That is the book that changed my life forever. And I started reading it like a textbook and learning from it and expanding. And I could suddenly see a much bigger purpose and picture to my life. How, here's Gillian, mother of 4 kids. That's my sole purpose, bring them up, etc. But then I could see a bigger picture as well. And in its own way, it gave me a great healing. So at the same time, I had to be very practical and think, right, I have no money. How am I going to get back to Scotland? And I did get back to Scotland, and I used to break down at all times. I could be on the bus and I would be greeting. I had to go to the job centre when I went back to Scotland in like March or April, and they asked me what did I want? Whoosh, I have, and they were so kind. And they said, well, job seekers allowance isn't for you. You can work, but we could give you employment support allowance and allow you to have that money, because I had no money, and it will support you, and you can remain in France trying to get your SHIT together without having to keep coming back here every 2 weeks. We'll support you. You just know that, my goodness, that was a godsend.
Yes.
So I had that, and then I was homeless, because when I came back to Scotland, I didn't want to move in with my mother because she lived in Grangemouth, and I didn't want my kids grown up out with the city centre. And I spoke to a friend, it was actually a good friend, who spoke to somebody else, and out of the blue, a friend phoned me up and said, hey, we haven't spoken in like 20 years, but we were good friends, and I'm living in Istanbul, but I keep a furnished flat in the centre of Edinburgh, Stockbridge, and I keep a car. For any time I come back, well, you can have it for you and your kids. You don't have to pay anything other than your food bills. I'll take care of everything.
Amazing.
Wow, yeah. So that is what I'm talking about, with the universe guiding. And although it was so painful, because I was still in a lot of pain, I was getting this. And then when I did come back to Edinburgh, again, honestly, the Scottish government helped me help myself. I did find work, little jobs here and there. But the other thing that I did was I looked for a life coach, because I knew that I needed more than just me. And I had no money. I used to have jewelry. I sold all my jewelry because I had my ex-husband he didn't have to pay anything towards the children. Because he lived in France, the child support agency told me, we're not going after him.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. So I sold all my jewelry and I paid for a life coach, and I was with her for 6 months, and she helped transform my life. And one of the things, she was a spiritual life coach.
Yeah.
And one of the things that she did was align me with Reiki. Again, this was something new to me, this universal life force energy, but she aligned me to that, and I just got it. I mean, it wasn't just I got it, it was me. I had the most extraordinary experiences with it. And that then led me to also start writing programs. Because what I'd learned from that book and the Reiki and what I had been through, I started writing little programs because I thought, if I can help myself like this, I'd given up the alcohol. If I can help myself like this, I can help other people as well.
Yeah.
Other women. And that's a big thing for me, to help other women that may be in a what they felt was a trapped situation, and then they end up, I mean, I was destitute. I was just fortunate in various ways. So I wrote the programs then, and I'm working with energy. Then I get this job in oil and gas, in publishing. And that was like, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life. I loved that job. And I was selling online. I was excellent. I was their top salesperson. I brought in a lot of money. And I was so good at it, and I traveled the world with it as well, that they said, well, you can work part-time, because what I could do in a part-time job, people couldn't even do in a full-time job. And I was able to keep working my business. So again, the universe stepped in, because in 2015, it was clear to me that the oil price was really radically descending, unlike now. And I couldn't sell because there wasn't the market for me. So I started looking for other jobs, and I had the most awesome CV with how successful I had been. And I'd get interviews, maybe 5 interviews, and then it would come to nothing. I'd get another set of 3 interviews, nothing. They'd be showing me the boardroom, this is where you'll be working, and nothing. It came to nothing. I just kept getting knocked back. But then in the beginning of 2016, the company that I was working for was starting to offer redundancies. Which is like, oh yeah, I get it now, because I got 5 years of redundancy payments that I wouldn't have got if I had been able to take these jobs that were offered and then not offered. So with the redundancy payment that I got in February 2016, I thought, right, this is it. I'm just going to go full time with my own business. And over the years, I had been training. And one of the trainings that I'd done was the hypnotherapy. So I thought, right, I'm going full time with the hypnotherapy business, which is what I did. And I haven't looked back. I've never looked back. I've never been happier. I feel my kids, they had a really raw time, and I had a raw time with them. But over the years, that's all just come into being. And they think that I'm like, some sort of a phoenix that rose from the ashes. They think I'm like superwoman. And so it's not like I'm going to be in the Daily Mail saying, and there I was, kitchen table, and now I've got a 6-figure income. I haven't. But I've got peace, I've got a business, I've got love, I've got balance. I never ever lost my integrity. I've got respect, I've got happiness, really, happiness. And so that's what I would like to share with others, because in 2009, my sister, Pam, and her daughter, Louise, came to visit me when I was absolutely broken. And I remember sitting in front of the fireside with them in my house in France, absolutely crippled, crucified with pain and loss, devastation, humiliation. And the two of them were saying, this will not last. This is meant to be. This has got an upside to it. And I could not see that. I just couldn't believe it for a moment. And I am the living proof of that. that there was a journey there, and I've lived it, and I've done it, and I'm celebrating it. And so there I am. That is my story.
It's such an inspiring story, and I really I'm very grateful to you sharing it, obviously with those who are going to now be watching, and I just think there are no words sometimes, but one of my questions is, obviously, you're talking really about law of attraction, and things that happen beyond what we know. Were you aware of that, or was it just something that was it the book that introduced you, or did you have a knowing that there were greater forces at work?
I had no knowing whatsoever. That's why when one of them, Jane or Christine, said your higher power, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then they said, well, it was Christine said, look, and then I went online and I got that book. So one of the things that I teach is that a lot of people think, oh, the law of attraction doesn't work. I've tried that and nothing happens. But what I say is, like, if you wanted to grow a tomato plant, you'd put a seed in, some earth, and you wouldn't go back 2 or 3 days later and think, oh, that's not worked because nothing's appeared, right?
Yeah.
We are a law. It's motion. Everything's in motion. Mm-hmm. But for me, and this is, if you want to really embody creating change in your life, and I've learned this over the years, is that it's not just about the mind. The body holds memories as well.
Absolutely.
And what you want to be doing is actually embodying how you would feel when you've got whatever it is you want in your life. How would you respond to life because you've already got what you want in life? How would you move your body now that you've already got that in your life? And how would you use each of your 5 senses? What would success taste like, feel like, smell like, sound like, and be like when you've got it? That's a difference, which I know I couldn't have known years ago, but I know it now. And that's what I teach.
Yeah.
Because when people get that, then your life, and that's another thing that I've got, a lesson that I've learned that I'd like to share, is the belief, the total belief. Yes. Oh, I've decided this is what's happening. And I believe that this is happening now. So I would like to feel that from listening to what I'm talking about, if anybody's out there and they're not sure, that this gives them this sense of, I can turbocharge myself, because look what happened to her. But I went through a very slow process, whereas I can help people to really, turbocharge, boost that, and have it now through, because you can. We really, 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 really can.
Yeah. Fabulous, absolutely fabulous. One question, I'm just mindful of time. What would you say is what is your daily routine to maintain the positive attitude, and what things do you consistently, no matter what, do you do on a daily basis?
I meditate. Meditation is the gift that just keeps giving. And I'll tell you, even today, I had an experience because one of my daughters is staying with me right now. And there was a little issue about the washing and hanging it up.
Oh, funny that, yes, that kind of resonates with me. Yeah.
And I said, can you do it? I've got to go out. Oh, no. And I know that previously that could have been a bit of a rocket going off. What? Yeah. And I know that she might have expected there to be a rocket going off. She doesn't live with me for a long time. She's just living here temporarily. Right. But I'm like, okay, it's fine. And I thought, that is a product of the meditation, because I've written an article on meditation, and it's on my website and the blog, how meditation benefits us mentally, physically, physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, biologically, neurochemically, right across the board. And it just keeps on giving. So that would be my takeaway for people. And like I was talking about the tomato plant, just because you haven't noticed it in the first 2, 3, 4 days, a week, 2 weeks or whatever, there may be a situation in your life, I'm not saying you particularly, Irene, but anybody that's listening, where they suddenly realize, oh God, yeah, I didn't react in the way that I would have reacted because I've mellowed so much with meditation. And meditation, you get so much more in your life. It doesn't make you all mellow. It just, it gives you more motivation. It gives you more clarity and energy. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And it is the one thing that I consistently do every single day. There are many other things, but that's the one thing. So I'm really pleased that you actually said that's what you do. So so I am going to sort of end now. I'm just very conscious of the time, and I actually have another meeting to go to. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your story, Gillian. It's been fabulous, very inspiring, and no doubt we will maybe have you back again or whatever. And hopefully those in the group who come to listen to you, they will be as blown away as I have been as well.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Irene. It's been such a pleasure and an honour, and thank you for inviting me. I've loved sharing my story.
Very welcome. Thank you so much. Okay. Good night.
Good night.